What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. The Giants lost again. I wish that I was waking up on a victory Friday. I wish the Giants were on a 2-game winning streak, but instead, once again, on primetime, we lost to the Dallas Cowboys. I am so sick and tired of this. Every time the Giants face the Cowboys on primetime, it's like we know it's going to be a loss. It's going to be an embarrassment on national television, and I'm just so tired of it, man. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down. We'll react to every nook and cranny of this game, every takeaway that we can find, but at the end of the day, I don't even care about all of it. I just want the Giants to start winning these games. Whether you want to say, oh, they were close if they just did this guy's holding them back, that guy's holding them back. I don't care what the problem is, just fix it. All of the problems, fix them. We can't keep losing these games on the national television spotlight to our division rivals. It's embarrassing. The Giants haven't beat the Cowboys in years. They haven't beat Dak Prescott since 2016. That's ridiculous. A 13-game win streak for Dak Prescott in his career against the New York Giants. When does this just become so embarrassing that John Mara throws a chair through a window? Because I want to throw a chair through a window. I am pissed off. I'm disappointed. I'm, again, embarrassed. Malik Nabers is a superstar. We knew that. He looked like a superstar last night. Nobody else did. Everybody else in that offensive lineup struggled. All the drops, the weird decisions on fourth down from Brian Dable, and while Daniel Jones had a high completion percentage and hit a lot of nice underneath passes, what is going on with his inability to throw a deep ball? He is not even close on any of them. There's a lot to unpack here. I think the Giants' defense did enough. It was good enough once again. But that's kind of been the story of this team so far this season. A lot of their different pieces have been good enough, but they haven't been great. And because of that, they're losing close football games. Getting blown out in week 1, losing close in week 2, and once again losing in week 4, a game that honestly they should have won because the Cowboys did not play their best football. But at the end of the day, here we are. We're 1-3. Where do we go from here? That's what we're going to go ahead and react to, discuss. Once again, overall embarrassed and disappointed. But Alex, how are you feeling today? I know obviously we wanted to wake up on a nice victory Friday, make it 2 in a row, but that's not the case. So what's your reaction?
Listen, guys, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm probably going to rant a lot in this episode. Warning, if you have kids in the room, throw a couple curses in there. You know me. The emotions get flowing. I can't really hold myself back. And there's a lot, as you said, to unpack here. And like you said, the defense did more than enough. On third downs, defense held Dallas to 3 for 10, 30% conversion rate. That's really freaking good. The defense did more than enough. And shout out to Kayvon Thibodeau, who had a really nice game, 5 pressures last night. So we loved that from Kayvon. We needed to see a game like that. Brian Burns didn't perform as well. Dexter Lawrence didn't do as well. But Kayvon rather stepped up and had a good game. Now we know Deonte Banks is getting absolutely cooked alive this season. He gave up that touchdown, over 70 yards in coverage. He was bad, and that's saying it kindly. Cordell Flott had a really solid game. I liked what I saw from him. We really missed Andrew Phillips. We could have used him desperately in the slot. But I know Cordell Flott was kind of traveling around. He was going outside, inside. But, for the most part, I was happy with his performance. Now, offensively, and look, I'm going to call out a lot of different things here, and I want to preface by saying that Daniel Jones had a good game in some respects, okay? He was really, really efficient. Everything looked pretty solid from, line of scrimmage, 0 to 9 yards out. He was good in that range, 281 yards, 29 completions on 40 attempts. But we know that there's one variable in his game that is holding him back from being a really effective and productive quarterback, and it's the deep ball, right? There is no way the Giants should be losing games because Daniel Jones is missing wide open freaking deep balls downfield, guys. And this episode is not supposed to be out ragging on Daniel Jones. A lot went wrong here, but the Giants have fixed their offensive line. They were not attributed with a sack in this game, according to PFF. They give up a couple pressures, nothing out of the ordinary. Andrew Thomas gave up 1 pressure. Jermaine Illuminor gave up 1 pressure. JMS, 1 pressure by the way. JMS, really, really encouraging start to his sophomore season. Really impressed by him. And we called this before the season. Everyone was bailing on him already. Give him some time, and he's looking like he's turning into that solid player. The Giants in this game deserve to lose this game because they didn't hit the deep ball. That was the difference, right? It was the difference. Daniel Jones, he has to hit these passes. Whether it be his fundamentals, his lack of confidence, his leg, his arm, I don't freaking care. But you're making $40 million freaking dollars and you can't hit a deep ball to a wide open player on a broken play? They had a free play and Darius Slayton has 3-4 steps on his cornerback. And Daniel Jones puts it 10 yards behind him, and he has to stop running, and his guy runs straight into him. It was a catchable ball, but it should have been a freaking touchdown. It's not about being catchable. It needs to be in the freaking breadbasket. He's sitting there, nobody around him, and he's missing these throws. He has to throw to the opposite hash to Malik Nabers, who, by the way, if you have Cam Ward or another quarterback in there that can really go out and make these throws downfield, that is a in-stride pass for a 60, 70-yard gain. Instead, it's almost an interception by Malik Hooker. These are the games that are deciding whether we win or lose. And by the way, I want to throw this in there, Anthony. On 4th and 3 on the Dallas 3-yard line, Brian Daboll doesn't, and after the game he says, I don't even have a thought about going for it. If that was Josh Allen at 4th and 3, you think he's going for it? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. If it's Patrick Mahomes, abso-freaking-lutely. You know, if it's Lamar Jackson, abso-freaking-lutely. What does that tell you about his confidence in Daniel Jones that he's not willing to even think about it? Even think about freaking going for it on 4th and 3 on the Dallas 3-yard line to capture the momentum. Where is Brian Daboll? Where is this guy? Where is the coach of the year from his rookie season? What has happened to his confidence in this offense? What has happened to his confidence in himself? Remember what happens when you gain momentum and you establish that momentum and you solidify it? You win fucking football games. Instead, the Giants are playing fucking football, and instead we're kicking field goals at the 3-yard line. The Giants defense held up all day. They went 3 and 10 on third down conversions. We didn't want to trust our defense to get out of it if they would have turned the ball over. Instead, we get 3 points, and Dallas is scoring touchdowns out here and putting us to bed. It's embarrassing. I blame Brian Daboll, and I blame Daniel Jones' lack of ability to make these plays happen because Brian Daboll clearly doesn't have the confidence in him to make these moments happen, to make these plays happen. And that's why the Giants are losing football teams. They're playing freaking bitch football because they have no balls, and they don't trust Daniel Jones to make the plays when it happens the most. The deep ball is non-existent. You cannot win football games going 2 yards down the field every step of the way. 12 catches for Malik Nabers is not sustainable, guys. He is going to get hurt. He did get hurt. Anthony and I were scared to death watching his leg get bent backwards on one of those hits because they can't do anything but feed him the football and get 5-yard chunk gains one after another. You know what I mean? It's not sustainable. Wandale, he had to drop. There was a lot of drops in this game. Unacceptable. Way too many freaking drops. But I'm not blaming Malik Nabers for this game at all. That drop, I do not blame him. He was way too good, and even Wandale was excellent too. But Anthony, I'll let you get your take in there because, you know, I could keep going forever now.
Yeah, I want to jump in there and talk about the drops, and I want to highlight Darius Slayton because we have a problem here at WR2 for the New York Giants. I mean, Wandale Robinson has clearly established himself as the second receiving option in this offense, and he's been great. He's working out of the slot, he's getting open, and he's getting a high target share, and he's completing a lot of those receptions that are coming his way. He did have some drops yesterday, and that was brutal. But not as brutal, I think, as Darius Slayton continuing to play bad football 4 weeks through the season. This guy looks like he doesn't want to be on the football field to me. I feel like, and maybe you guys disagree with me, you comment down below. I know Alex was saying that he kind of agrees with me. I feel like Darius Slayton doesn't want to be on the New York Giants. The way that he plays, his body language, play to play, his body language in press conferences, ever since he had that contract dispute, he's been a completely different player, and for the worse. He looks like his confidence is shot, and he doesn't want to be playing for the Giants. His effort feels minimal. His ability to make difficult grabs is non-existent right now. He's just not the same playmaker that he was even 1 season ago. And I know that Darius Slayton was never some elite playmaker, never some elite stretch-the-field deep threat who's constantly scoring touchdowns, but he was always consistent and reliable. And yeah, he had those drops problems earlier in his career. He didn't have any drops really last season. He got a lot better at that. Now he's dropping a lot of passes, crucial ones at that, and he just looks like he's not in it. His head doesn't look like it's all there right now on the football field. I'm very concerned with this, and I get more concerned when this is becoming so noticeable to me watching the broadcast, and it doesn't seem to be super noticeable to the Giants coaching staff. They have Darius Slayton on the field for 57 snaps last night. How many did Jalen Hyatt get? 13. And about half of those came on that final drive when Malik Nabers was out of the lineup, and they needed to put Jalen Hyatt in the lineup. Why isn't Jalen Hyatt getting any of these snaps? During the summer, when the Giants were practicing, going through all these scrimmages, they were rotating in Slayton and Hyatt. They were both playing this WR2 position. And I get that you don't always want to be rotating guys in and out of the lineup. You want to have some continuity, for sure. I get that. But at the same time, Slayton is not playing good football. He's playing bad football, I would argue. You have to see if you have something better, something more in Jalen Hyatt. And I had a conversation on social media today, Alex, with somebody who was like, but Hyatt's not really playing good football either. And when you see Daniel Jones roll out of the pocket, he doesn't necessarily move with him. He doesn't do the scramble drill well. And I argued, How do you expect him to learn how to do those things unless he's actually playing on game days? You can't simulate quarterback scramble drills really in practice. Those are tough to simulate at a high level. He needs game reps. The Giants are killing this kid's development. And guys, I understand, third round draft pick. He wasn't drafted with the expectation of becoming a superstar, but he was a Fred Biletnikoff Award winner. He was the best wide receiver in the country in 2022. He tore up the SEC. The kid has talent, and he has a lot of speed, and the Giants aren't utilizing either of those two things because they're not even putting him on the football field. And again, how is he supposed to develop and get better as a football player if he's barely playing any live game football? The Giants, this is becoming inexcusable. Slayton's effort looks minimal. His ability to produce has been horrific. His drops have been costly. Meanwhile, Jalen Hyatt has talent and potential that we're not even attempting to unlock. It's inexcusable. They have to start making a change. I'm not saying that they need to bench Slayton for Hyatt, but they have to at least start giving him some reps. They have to start rotating those two because we got to see something else here. Slayton is not cutting it. And you all know how much of a Darius Slayton fan I've been for the last 5 years. I am always going to bat for him, and I am always defending him on this channel and on this podcast. Right now, I keep it real, guys. Whether I love the player or not, if they're playing poorly, I'm going to call them out for it. Darius Slayton is playing horrible football right now. He needs to lose some of his playing time. Jalen Hyatt needs to start developing. Put him in the damn lineup, Brian Dable. That's where I'm at with that. Meanwhile, Alex, this offense, the last couple weeks, the running game has been all right. We're walking up to this game. We're talking about how Dallas has the 32nd ranked run defense in the NFL. We're like, man, Devin Singletary needs to eat tonight. The Giants' rushing attack looked putrid. And I know we just praised the offensive line. And they deserve it because they were great in pass protection. They were horrible in run blocking. And there was no creativity in the rushing attack on Thursday Night Football. This Giants offense had some layers in the passing game that got me excited, but in the running game was completely vanilla and completely stagnant. It was just a very disappointing demonstration of rushing the football from the Giants on Thursday night, Alex. I know you've definitely got some thoughts and opinions. There are probably some strong ones as well. How embarrassed are you by that rushing attack? Because that's how I feel. Like, going up against a 32nd ranked run defense, and the Giants had, 26 total yards of rushing? That was embarrassing as a performance from Singletary and the Giants' rushing attack.
I mean, not even to mention, the fumble again. I mean, I got rolled back and he was down by contact, but the guy can't hold to the freaking ball. This is 1.7 yards per attempt on 14 carries, had 24 yards along of 5. I mean, I watched him dance around the backfield multiple times trying to find other lanes. But I also don't understand, why don't we get some cracks in there? Why don't we get some pitches in there? All they did was run straight up the middle where Dallas made it an emphasis in this game. You could tell they had their linebackers playing really close to line of scrimmage. They were stacking the box. They were stopping the run. And they were asking Daniel Jones to throw the deep ball. They literally adjusted in the second half and said, you know what? Let's just cover the short intermediate ranges, stop the run, let Daniel Jones miss the deep passes. And that's exactly what he did. Devin Singletary, really disappointing performance. The offensive line and run blocking, not good enough. It was just, it's unacceptable, guys. It's unacceptable. I don't understand. DeMarcus Lawrence leaves this game. Micah Parsons leaves this game. Run to their freaking side. Run to their side. Get blockers out in front. Our tight ends freaking suck, by the way. Also, screw that bullshit face mask penalty that Daniel Bellinger got called on early in the game. Absolute freaking bullshit. I don't even understand. I think I saw a statistic where the head referee in this game has a plus 11.8 point differential for Dallas when he officiates them. That seems to me like a little bit of a bias, but who am I? Some BS, especially at home at MetLife, the Giants. It's ridiculous. That call is ridiculous. There has to be a way to review some of these calls because that changes the course of a game, a play like that early on, and the momentum shifts. So, I think that was total nonsense. But in any case, Theo Johnson had 1 catch for 6 yards in this game. Our tight ends are absolutely useless. Useless. This offense, we're relying on Malik Nabers, relying on Wan'Dale Robinson, and if Devin Singletary isn't doing jack shit, we're absolutely cooked. Our tight ends are absolutely useless in the receiving game. I really don't get it because you need to have some decent outlets. You know who was Dak Prescott's outlet in this game? Jake Ferguson, who's catching passes as a security blanket all freaking day long and carving up our defense because nobody was blocking him because they were all focused on Malik Nabers or they were all focused on CeeDee Lamb and bracketing him. Ferguson's sitting there wide open. You could see they were trying to bracket Malik Nabers. You could see they were trying to double him. Where the hell are the tight ends, man? Why are we not scheming open the tight ends? The lack of usage there is really, really concerning to me. And listen, Brian Dable, he's done some phenomenal things offensively, covering up some of Daniel Jones' weaknesses here and simplifying this offense and making sure the throws are easy. I mean, if you look at the spray chart, 0 to 9 yards, all the throws, they're all really, really easy. And even some of them were late, and he was late to get the ball to Nabers, and the yak could have been, enhanced a lot better in a lot of ways. But, he was fine. Daniel Jones played fine football. It was just a missed deep throws that really pissed me off, and I think everybody's kind of in the same boat here. If he doesn't get that shit together, the season's already over, most likely. I mean, our schedule moving forward is not easy, and we're 1-3. And we just lost to a very, very beatable Dallas team. That team was the worst Dallas team I think I've seen in years, with Dak Prescott starting and healthy. That was one of the worst Dallas teams I've seen in a long time. We could have easily won that football game, and we shot ourselves in the foot. Drops, missed deep balls. Just so many different things that happened. The field goals, the lack of freaking aggression from Brian Daboll, and Daboll deserves a lot of freaking, blame here as well. His lack of aggressiveness in the red zone, his inability to scheme open players at tight end, his commitment to Darius Slayton with Hyatt still there, needing some development, and then that Hail Mary, people are like, Hyatt should have been more aggressive. It was a freaking Hail Mary with 3 DBs around him. Like, what do you expect? The guy's like freaking 190 pounds. He's not going to outmuscle these DBs. Like, we're not giving guys opportunities. We're just leaning on Malik Nabers, and he's going to get hurt, and our offense is going to be freaking straddled. It's going to be absolutely suffocated because we have nobody else that can step up and produce, because they don't trust Darius Slayton. They don't trust Jalen Hyatt. They don't trust Theo Johnson. They barely trust Wan'Dale Robinson, and they only trust Malik Nabers. This offense is not sustainable with this current strategy. And I guarantee if Nabers misses any time because of this concussion, and prayers up to him, this offense is not going to score more than 10 points. They are not capable. Incapable. Malik Nabers is the whole unit. It's really, really bad, man. Like, Daboll's done a tremendous job keeping him the ball, but everything else is a fucking disaster.
He is, and I want to highlight something about Brian Daboll. It's something that you kind of alluded to here, but this has been one of my biggest concerns with Brian Daboll. Over the past couple of years, when the Giants have lost these games, they haven't just been outmatched, outmanned, and, out-talented, right? They keep beating themselves. That's been a trend and a pattern with Brian Daboll. Alex, I'm sure that you agree with me. It feels like the most recent times that we've watched the Giants lose these games, who beat the Giants? The Giants are usually the team beating the Giants. They make stupid mistakes. They don't go for it on fourth when they obviously should. Some players are just completely coached the wrong way. There's always these mistakes that the Giants are making to beat themselves. I hate to say it, but thinking back to those days, Alex, when we were watching Pat Shurmur ball or even Joe Judge ball, the Giants weren't necessarily beating themselves. They were getting beat by good teams, right? Or they just didn't have talent to stack up with even bad teams. They were just a very bad team with no talent. Now I feel like the Giants do have some pieces. They do have some talent. They've obviously got Malik Nabers. Burns didn't play great last night, but he's a talented player. Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, obviously, and Andrew Thomas. There are talented players on this team now, and the Giants still aren't winning games, and the Giants are still beating themselves under Brian Daboll. That's been my biggest problem with him. The team beat themselves in week 2 versus Washington when they didn't elevate a kicker, and we gave a lot of shit to Brian Daboll for that one. I don't know. I feel like we got to give shit to him on this one as well. I don't think that he necessarily coached the greatest game plan. I don't think that he was nearly as aggressive as he should have been. And once again, I think he beat the team himself. I think the Giants just continue to dig themselves into these holes that they're not capable of climbing out of. And that's been something that's bothered me so badly for the last 3 years with this Giants team. When they lose, sometimes they lose really ugly, but oftentimes they are just losing at their own hand, and it's embarrassing. And you're right, Alex, this was a crucial game because it's Thursday night, it's against Dallas, a beatable Dallas team, and look at this division. Philly's already got a loss this season. Washington looks great, but they also have a loss. And if we would have won this game, we would have sunk Dallas all the way down into 4th place, and we would have been back in the race of this division. Now at 1-3, we got a hole to climb out of, and I don't know how we're going to do it, because next week, we've got Seattle, an undefeated team. A couple weeks later, we've got the Bengals, who are not that great right now, but still have a lot of talent. They could explode at any moment. Then we've got the Steelers, an undefeated team right now with the best defense in the NFL. This schedule does not let up. It's really a difficult one for this Giants team. And that's why we argued all offseason that it was so crucial that the Giants got off to a hot start in the first 4 weeks of the season. Because if they don't have a winning or even record by week 4, good luck getting through weeks 5 through 8, because this schedule does not let up. And unfortunately, The Giants have had opportunities to stack some wins during these first 4 weeks, and they haven't done it. Blame who you want to blame. Brian Daboll does deserve a lot of the blame. He is the head coach at the end of the day. These players not performing to their capabilities, you have to hand him a lot of that blame. But overall, this offense is just missing something. And you got to talk a lot about it a lot, Alex. You talked a lot about the deep ball. I haven't really given my 2 cents on it. What I'm seeing from Daniel Jones, throwing these deep passes and egregiously missing these deep passes, 2 things. One, a little bit of a lack of confidence. He's not throwing it into these tight windows with much decisiveness. He's not ripping it and firing it downfield. He's kind of like, do I want to throw it? And he just kind of like limp arms it and just throws it downfield and hopes for the best. And it always ends up short. The other thing that I'm seeing is a clear lack of fundamentals. He leans back on these throws. His left arm sprays out wide open, which you're not supposed to do. He leans so far back, and his legs are so wide apart. He just cannot get his base set and transfer his weight and fire this football downfield. And honestly, I think it's his knee. I think when you really watch it, and you take a look at the film and the All-22, or even the broadcast angles, and you watch the way that Daniel Jones is throwing this football, his knee is clearly bothering him to me. He is not driving from his back foot into his front foot, transferring his weight, and throwing the ball with any type of velocity when throwing downfield. He leans back and just airs that thing with his arm. There's something fundamentally wrong here that was not present 3 years ago. When you go back and you watch rookie Daniel Jones, his feet are close together, his arm is tight, and he is throwing that thing with velocity downfield. Go look at that throw in the first game of his career to Darius Slayton, when he rolled left and threw right downfield like 50 yards against Tampa Bay. Go look at that deep shot that he had to Kyle Rudolph against the Cardinals. The guy used to throw some nice deep balls. Think back on that rookie season. Think back on how much Danny was diming as a rookie 20-plus yards downfield. Go watch those clips. Compare his throwing form and fundamentals to these clips from last night's game, and you'll see what I see. You'll see a base that's way too wide and a weight transfer that's just not happening. And I have to assume that that has something to do with that right knee, his back leg, not being able to sustain what he's trying to do when throwing the ball downfield. Or he's just not confident in it yet. Maybe he's uncomfortable. A lot of it, working back from injury, it's not that you're actually going to re-injure it, it's that you think you're going to re-injure it, and it's all mental. I think something is happening with Daniel Jones in that knee, and it's causing him to miss all these deep shots. But here's the thing. The Giants can't wait for Daniel Jones to gain that confidence back. They can't wait for him to knock off that rust and magically, in Week 10, find his deep ball again and start throwing downfield with accuracy. They don't have time to wait, and they definitely don't have time to waste waiting on him. So now here we are going into Week 5, and Daniel Jones has completed 2 passes of 20 yards downfield. One of them to Malik Nabers with over 10 yards of separation last night, okay? He's not hitting these tight window throws. He's not hitting downfield throws, and the Giants are suffering because of it. He threw some really great passes from the 10 to 15-yard range last night. Decisive throws. Tight window throws. There was one to Malik Nabers. He came out of the backfield. He sat down between 2 linebackers, and Jones fired it in there. It was a great throw. Then the next play, they're trying to go deep. It's not even in the same zip code as Malik Nabers. You can't win football games like that for one simple reason. Your offense cannot spend that much time on the field. Your defense, like we've always said about the Giants defense last season, they couldn't get off the field, they would get gassed, and then teams would run all over them in the fourth quarter. It's the same thing for this offense. By the time they reached the fourth quarter, Malik Nabers was making some of these receptions, and he looked like he wanted to lay down and go to sleep because he was so exhausted. And honestly, I was exhausted watching it because the Giants were just dinking and dunking and gassing their players. You have to connect on those deep passes because you have to get your offense off of the field at times, give them a breather, let them take a break, and then hit the field with full energy once again. But with Daniel Jones continuously missing these deep passes and the Giants continuing to fail fail to capitalize on these opportunities to make explosive plays and get off the field quickly, this offense is only going to continue to run out of gas and collapse game in and game out. So Daniel Jones, we don't have time to wait for him to magically fix this deep ball. There is a clear fundamental problem. The Giants need to coach this out of him. And if he doesn't have it fixed, I would have said by week 4, if he doesn't have it fixed, you have to make a change. But he's played good enough to keep the starting job. And that's what pisses me off more than anything. Because, Alex, what was my phrase all offseason? It's not good enough for Daniel Jones to be good enough anymore. Can you really argue to me? Can anybody seriously convince me that he's been great and not just good enough like always? I'm tired of good enough. Good enough is not good enough. If Daniel Jones keeps playing good enough, you got to pull him from the lineup. Get someone in there who is even bad. I don't even care if they're bad, but good enough just leaves you in quarterback purgatory, quarterback hell, whatever you want to call it. That's where the Giants are right now, and it's really tough to envision a bright future for this team because of it.
Dude, it's year 6. Like, he's got to turn it around the next week. We can't be waiting 6 weeks for him to figure out his freaking deep ball. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous that we are in year 6 of this player that's making $40 million per season, and he's not making the adjustments the next week. You know what I mean? He used to have it. He used to have the deep ball. Now he suddenly doesn't. Okay? Can he just not throw it anymore? Can he not get the ball downfield? I'm looking at a freaking still shot right now that I posted on Instagram, Anthony, about a couple minutes ago. If you want to go check it out. Free play to Darius Slayton where he missed on it. Darius Slayton has 5 yards of separation streaking downfield. Now, another story if he actually catches it. But you ask why Darius Slayton doesn't look like he wants to be with the Giants? Because Daniel Jones is underthrowing him by 10 yards, man. Like, that should be a walk-in touchdown. Darius Slayton's stock is being absolutely cooked by this man, and I said it weeks ago. Why is Darius Slayton, want to get paid now? Because he knows Daniel Jones is going to nuke his stock. Darius Slayton's price tag is dropping every single day right now. He's heading to free agency, and his every single week, he loses $500,000 on a potential contract because his stats are getting absolutely killed. You know what I mean? That should be a walk-in touchdown. That should be a 70-yard touchdown dot to Darius Slayton on a broken play, on a free play with perfect pass protection. Daniel Jones is standing there without anyone even close to him, and he's freaking underthrowing that ball by 10 yards. You know what I mean? This is the type of stuff that wins and loses football games. Yeah, Daniel Jones, you could say he played really well. He hit some throws, right? But I would argue if he didn't hit the ones that actually would win the game for the Giants, he did not play that well. You know what I mean? If you're not hitting the throws that are the difference between winning and losing as a quarterback, you did not play well. You did not do your job. You know what I mean? The Giants didn't score a freaking touchdown yesterday. I don't care if he had 281 passing yards. All they did was kick field goals. Doesn't matter. You could have 400 yards and 0 touchdowns and he still played like shit. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is, man. If you don't score touchdowns, you are not winning NFL games. This is not the Commanders against the Giants. This is the Giants against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are going to beat you if you're only kicking field goals. You know what I mean? This is just the way it is, man. You can't. These are moments. If he hits that pass to Slayton, the Giants win this football game, and he doesn't do it. That's the difference.
Yeah, and there's plenty of plays that you can find like that are the difference, where Nabers has a step and he just doesn't put it in the same area as Nabers and he doesn't make the play. There's one thing that I need to clarify though, Alex. It's not on the same topic as Daniel Jones, but it's on Nabers. I see a lot of people on social media calling that 4th down play a drop. Malik Nabers has a chance on the sideline. He gets his feet in bounds. The ball hits him. He hits the ground. It gets jarred loose. That is not a drop. Malik Nabers had a concussion on the play. He was unconscious when the ball rolled out of his goddamn hands. How do you call that a fucking drop? He wasn't even awake. It's not a drop. The cornerback shoved him. He fell on his head. He knocked unconscious and the ball came loose. That is not a fucking drop. That is actually egregious that there are Giants fans arguing on social media right now saying Malik Nabers dropped 2 passes that cost the Giants 2 games this season. You guys are out of your mind. Okay, yeah, the drop in week 2 versus the Commanders, that was a clear-cut drop. He made a mistake there. This is not the same thing. He made a beautiful toe tap grab on the sideline. A cornerback shoved him. He hit his head on the turf. He concussed. He lost consciousness and therefore lost the football. That is not a fucking drop. That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. The fact that people are calling that a drop by Malik Nabers actually has me pissed off. Okay, I'm going to digress off that because I got way too pissed off there. Way too angry. But come on, guys. Let's be for real. He wasn't even awake when the ball came out of his hands. Okay? It's not a drop. I digress off of that. He's had a few drops. Understand this, guys. When a wide receiver has 52 targets in 4 weeks, when they have 30-plus receptions in 4 weeks, they are going to drop a couple footballs. He is now averaging 1 drop per game. That is not egregious. His target share is ginormous. His volume, his workload is insane. He is getting the football more than anybody in the NFL right now. So the drops are standing out because he's had a few of them, but that's because he's touching the football so much. That's not on Nabers. Let's not overblow this drops issue and act like he's got some bad hands and blow all this out of proportion. Malik Nabers is a superstar. He is handicapped by his quarterback. He's handicapped by his offensive coordinator / head coach right now. He is handcuffed to a bad offense, but he is making plays. The couple of drops here and there, they don't keep me up at night. He is fine. He is playing good football. And when you're just getting the ball thrown to you that much, a couple of them are going to slip through your hands. It is football at the end of the day. You can say the same thing about Daniel Jones. A couple of those throws, they're not always going to be perfect. That's true as well. But here, this ties into the major issue with this Giants offense, Alex. The margin for error with this offense, and it's been this way ever since Daniel Jones took over as a starter, the margin for error is too thin to make such silly and simple mistakes. You can apply that to Nabers and drops if you want. You can definitely apply it to Wandale and Slayton and their drops. And you can absolutely apply it to the fact that Daniel Jones cannot hit the side of a barn when throwing the ball downfield. The margin for error is way too thin. The Giants keep beating themselves because they can't capitalize on the few opportunities. Good quarterbacks, they can run a system, check down, and hit those throws underneath. Great quarterbacks capitalize on those opportunities. They have that kill shot in them. Daniel Jones just doesn't have that kill shot. We watch all these other quarterbacks around the NFL. Hell, Alex, I saw Andy Dalton step into the lineup last week for the Panthers and throw a rope down the seam for a touchdown 40 yards downfield. I know you saw that one too. That's the difference right there. It's not just Jones doesn't have time in the pocket. He doesn't have the playmakers. He's not throwing accurately into tight windows. That's what it is, guys. Whether he's throwing to these wide open players underneath all game and boosting his PFF grade up to an 80 or not, those downfield throws that decide games, he's not deciding these games. In fact, he is deciding them. He's deciding that the Giants are losing every time he fails to hit one of those deep shots. Again, Dalton stepped in and fired one. That's all it took for the Panthers to win a football game, was to make a change at quarterback and have a quarterback go in there that can actually hit a 20-plus yard downfield throw. Maybe the Giants need to see if they can find a similar spark in their offense by making a change at QB sometime this season. Maybe sometime like right now. But the inability to throw those balls downfield, it's egregious, and there is just no defending it.
Yeah, I mean, egregious is a light way to put it. It's crazy. Like, I don't know if this is even real, but it looks real to me as far as I can tell. Jerry Jones is asked about the game after the game last night on The Fan, and he says, "I was very impressed with the Giants. I thought their quarterback was better than I thought he was. They were a tough matchup. I was impressed. I thought we did a heck of a job defending their run." He's been watching Daniel Jones for 6 years. Jerry Jones loves Daniel Jones, bro. Anthony, the guy loves Daniel Jones. He's like, pay him more. Because all Daniel Jones does is lose to the Dallas Cowboys in primetime games. He is 1-13 in primetime football games, guys. He hasn't even lucked into more than one win. Hasn't gotten lucky. Like, the run game has, like, Saquon didn't do enough to win more than one. It's year 6. We need to be seeing week-to-week adjustments from Daniel Jones. The deep ball cannot be a issue for 4 straight games. It's got to be, okay, he was bad this week. Next week, you're year 6 man making $40 million. He fixed it. It's done. He's good. We move on. Offense gets better, right? See, like, other young players are making these adjustments in less time, unless he just can't throw it anymore. I'm of the belief that he just can't throw it anymore. So, listen, you guys know this, though. I am so done with Daniel Jones. So done. Do I want the Giants to win? Do I want him to play well? Absolutely. But no matter how well he plays, no matter how good he looks the rest of the year, how bad he looks, he is not my quarterback next year. The Giants cannot afford to be paying him a $46 million cap hit and a $56 million cap hit in 2025. And the only way to open up enough money to spend in the future is to either extend him even further or restructure his contract, which is literal fucking roster suicide. Okay? It's roster freaking suicide to do anything with his contract but cut him and save the $20 million freaking dollars and go get another cornerback and draft a young quarterback and reset that window and give Malik Nabers a guy that can hit him on a pass over 20 yards. Okay? Malik Nabers, guys, was known for his deep ball qualities at LSU. He was known for torching defenses. He's proved to us he can do everything in between. He's proved to us that he can do the short stuff, the yards after catch, the intermediate routes. But once they get a quarterback who can not only do that, but also hit the deep ball, the guy's ceiling is going to be unbelievable. We're going to see a player that could really become top 2, top 3 receivers in football. With the type of volume he's receiving, he could set records for this team. You know what I mean? That's how good he could be. But the Giants need to get a quarterback next year who resets his rookie window, allows him to go out and get another complementary receiver that they can lean on aside from Wan'Dale and Nabers, because Wan'Dale's proved to be injury prone, and I'm afraid Nabers is gonna go down that same path if they don't find somebody else to throw the ball to. Right? They got to go get another cornerback and another receiver, and they can't do it if Daniel Jones is being paid a $56 million cap hit in 2026. They can't afford it. They can't do it. They've already restructured Andrew Thomas's contract and Dexter Lawrence's contract. There's restructured Brian Burns's, but how many times do we have to create these push the caps to the future? We need that money to build this team, and that's just the unfortunate reality. I think most fans have come to that result and that conclusion as well. There's a couple of believers who still think that Daniel Jones, after 6 years, is just suddenly going to turn it around and figure it all out. Guys, the guy's limited in a lot of ways, and it's not going to turn around just like that. Look, if the Giants don't win some more games this year, Brian Daboll could be gone. And then Daniel Jones going on to his fourth head coach. Guys, there's one common denominator in that entire span, and it's him. It's him.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones has to, look, if they're going to keep Daboll in chain, and look, I'll say this, I think this team could be good. They could be. There are some good pieces here. There is some good football being played at certain spots. The draft this year, I thought they killed it. There's some really good rookies so far that I really like. But if they get the quarterback to turn this thing around, this team is going to look a hell of a lot better because he is limiting them. And Brian Daboll calls an explosive game. You might know what he said before the season, Anthony, just my last thing. Before the season, he said, we're going to have an explosive offense. You want to know what the Giants' offense hasn't been? Explosive. You want to know why? Because Daniel Jones can't throw the deep ball. That is it. That is the only thing you need to know. They are not running Brian Daboll's preferred offense. They're adjusting to his limitations, to Jones' limitations. And because of that, we're not able to score touchdowns at an efficient rate against better defenses.
Tell me if this is a hot take, Alex. This Giants team is 3-1 this season if Tyrod Taylor is under center.
I don't even think that's a conversation. These two games, these two losses were results of the Giants missing out on deep opportunities. Against Cleveland, solid win. Good win. Defense balled out. Pass rush had one of the best pass rush performances in the Giants' history. That's what it took to beat the Cleveland fucking Browns, who have Deshaun Watson at quarterback and no offensive line. One of the best pass rush performances in Giants history. That's what it required. And Daniel Jones had one good half of football. In the second half, he was terrible. And people glaze him for what? He looked average. Like Gardner, I've seen Gardner Minshew have games like that. And he's being paid $30 million less. You know what I mean? This is ridiculous that we're having this conversation at $40+ million cap hit. And we're not getting franchise caliber quarterback performance. We're getting, he's doing just good enough. He's efficient. 281 yards with 0 touchdowns. That's all I saw. 0 touchdown passes. And Brian Daboll has no confidence in him to throw a freaking 3-yard pass in the red zone on the 3-yard line from Dallas, who have one of the worst freaking defenses in football right now, and he has no confidence in his quarterback to make a play, and his defense is balling out, and he knows his defense is probably going to make a stop after if they turn the ball over. He has no confidence in DJ. That's how little he has. And he's leaning on a rookie, a kicker he picked up a week ago to win the game for us. I can't. This whole team is a freaking shit show. It's a result of a lack of confidence, a lack of aggression. Dude, Brian Daboll, your job is on the line. Act like it. Coach like it, right? Where did his confidence go, man? And I have no words for it anymore. It's just a freaking embarrassment. I'm tired of it. The same damn story every single loss. They were this close. We're a couple of plays away. A couple of deep shots. A couple of Brian Daboll better decisions. They had no timeouts in the last 4 minutes of the fucking game, bro. Where the hell did all of our timeouts go?
Daniel Jones blew one of them because there was a miscommunication in the huddle and not everybody was set, and he had to call a timeout. So it's not just Brian Daboll mismanaging the clock. Daniel Jones actually did cost them one of those timeouts. And I want to put that into perspective. That was the next point that I wanted to make. The Giants had one of the luckiest things of all time happen to them. Brandon Aubrey missed a field goal. And still, they couldn't win the game because after Brandon Aubrey missed that field goal, they didn't have a timeout. And they only had 28 seconds to go downfield, and they couldn't do it because Daniel Jones can't hit a deep ball. It's the perfect culmination of everything. The Giants get a lucky break that no team in history has ever gotten because this is the first time that Brandon Aubrey has ever missed a 50-plus yard field goal in his career. He was 17 of 17 before that. And he misses that field goal. The Giants have a chance. They're breathing. They're still alive on the table. And they take their last breath because they didn't have that timeout because Daniel Jones had blown one earlier in the fourth quarter due to his inability to get the offensive line set and ready to go. So it's really not just his PFF grade being an 80. Oh my God, he's playing great football. Guys, there's so much more to the game of football. There's so much nuance to it. And even if Daniel Jones is hitting these accurate throws and getting these completions, take a closer look at some of these completions. They're late, they're behind the receivers, and they're sacrificing yards after the catch. That's what's happening a lot of the time. So sure, he made a nice completion to Malik Nabers, 5-yard gain. But what if it was a better throw? Maybe it was a 10-yard gain or a 15-yard gain, and that's a big difference. It's not just about, and Alex, this is the last point that I'll make, and it's responding to what you said about an explosive offense. I don't think that you can blame the offense not being explosive on Brian Daboll so much because, and I know that's not really what you're doing, you're blaming Daniel Jones, I get that, but I'm going to kind of further your point by saying the Giants haven't been making an explosive offense by way of deep passing. They've been making an explosive offense by way of catch and run, like they did against the Washington Commanders. That offense was explosive. Malik Nabers was getting the ball in space, and he was picking up 30 yards after the catch, right? That's pretty much how it was going. The Giants tried to do that again last night, and they had a few opportunities for it. But the passes were not on time, and they were not accurate enough, and it sacrificed yards after the catch opportunities. So whether or not this offense is going to be explosive throwing the ball downfield, I think we've already got our answer. They're not going to have an explosive deep passing game. But can they have an explosive intermediate run after the catch passing game? They can when Daniel Jones is on time and throwing these balls accurately. But when these balls are behind the receivers, or they're late getting to the receivers, so now the defensive back is closing in, you lose your opportunity to have an explosive run after the catch offense. So that's really one of the other factors where, yeah, you Giants, you Daniel Jones supporters are going to point towards Daniel Jones' stats and say, look at his completion percentage through the first 3 quarters. He only had 3 incompletions. Well, let's look at some of those completions a little bit closer and look at how those completions actually ended up killing plays for the Giants, because that does happen with Daniel Jones. And that is one of the most detrimental things to this team. The fact that there is so much meat that gets left on the bone when you watch this Giants offense play, and it all is centralized behind that quarterback position. It's egregious. That's been my word all episode. I'm going to keep using that one. These mistakes are egregious, Alex. And it's just really disheartening to watch, especially now that we're in the 6th year of this shit, losing to Dallas every time we play them, especially on primetime. It's just embarrassing.
I don't even know where to go from here, man. Like, I really don't know. Like, we're all big fans of this team, right? Whether you love Daniel Jones, you hate Daniel Jones, you think he's the future, you think he's not the future, you think he'd be sent to a remote island for his wrongdoings. We all love this team. We just want them to be great, right? Like, that's the end of it. Like, we all are, like, conflicted, and we all, like, you know, want the same thing, but in different ways, and think this or think that. I guarantee you I know more about his cap situation than the average fan. The Giants cannot support his cap hits. They can't. They have to let him go. They have to. So even if you want and you think Daniel Jones can be good, your opinion doesn't matter because they cannot sustain his salary cap hits moving forward. He has to go. They tried to replace him. They tried to draft Drake May. You know? I mean, they knew that he was cooked. They knew they had to move on. Instead, they went and got a superstar in Malik Nabers who is looking the part. And I guarantee you, if we fast forward a year from now, Anthony, there is a new quarterback under center, and Daniel Jones is probably a bridge or a backup somewhere else. And we're looking at a young quarterback make mistakes, but we're saying, you know what? At least it's year 1. At least it's year 1 and he's making these mistakes. At least it's year 1 and he's missing a deep ball every now and then. At least it's year 1 and the player's not set and he has to call a timeout. At least it's year 1 and he's skipping a ball off the dirt. It's not year fucking 6. It's not year 6. It's been over 2,000 days of development for Daniel Jones, and we're acting as if he's a first-year rookie with some of the mistakes he makes. Okay? We see guys in their rookie season make these same mistakes, and we say, okay, you know, he's a rookie. But in year 6, people are still freaking guzzling this guy schlong for some reason. I don't understand it. I don't get it, man. I don't understand it, man. I do not understand it. If you were at your job, Anthony, if somebody was at their job for 6 years and you were making mistakes you made in year 1, I guarantee you'd be fired. Guarantee you wouldn't even be there in year 3, let alone year 1. At any other job, any other profession, right? If you don't make the adjustments to get better, if you don't make the adjustments to do your job at a better level, you're making mistakes over and over again, you will get fired. But apparently Daniel Jones is immune to getting freaking benched or fired for some of this stuff. And he's been playing better, sure. But the couple of deep balls that he's missed that have been wide open have been wins and losses. And those couple of plays, Anthony, are going to get Brian Daboll fired, and we will remember that when he does.
Listen, you just said it. He's been playing better. You just basically said what I've been saying this whole time. Daniel Jones plays good enough. He plays good enough
Good
football.
enough.
I mean, honestly, out of all of the takes that I've ever had on this channel, that is the one that I'm going to put on a crown and rest on my head because it is the most accurate one that I've ever spit here. The Giants get bought into this idea of good enough football from Daniel Jones. It is not good enough for this kid to be good enough anymore. Kid, he's a grown man. He's in his 6th season in the NFL. It's not good enough anymore. Good enough just isn't good enough. You need somebody who can be great, at least in spurts. Give me a couple great throws, not a couple good enough throws. I don't know, man. I'm sick of it. I'm really tired. It's the number one thing that's aged like fine wine on this channel. It's not good enough for Daniel Jones to be good enough anymore, but hey, what's he been this season? He's been good enough. Shocker. Russell Wilson was good enough last season. How'd that end for him? He got benched because of his injury clause. What do you guys think is going to happen to Daniel Jones by week 15? He's going to be benched because he's only been good enough and not great. And the Giants are going to cut him, and they're going to free up that cap space, and they're going to reboot at quarterback. That is the road that we're on. And it is not an optimistic one. It is bleak. It means that we don't have a ton to look forward to this season. It's going to suck. And that's honestly a result of the quarterback. And we just have to be realistic about it. But Alex, I'm kind of over this. I'm embarrassed. I'm upset. I'm frustrated. I'm tired. I want a nap. Okay, I'm done. I don't want to talk about Daniel Jones missing deep balls and all this crap anymore. I want to look at film. I want to break it down and demonstrate it for you guys, but I need a breather. I need a break. I can't do this anymore. You got any closing thoughts here?
My closing thoughts are this, man. The Giants, once again by week 4, are a fucking joke. The Giants by week 4, and people are already just like, yep, the season's over. We all know it, right? We all know the season's cooked. What team has come back from a 1-3 start with the state the Giants are in, unless you have like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or an elite quarterback that actually manages to storm back and win and make a playoff appearance? The NFC East is not that good this year. The Eagles are vulnerable. The Dallas, we could have won that game last night. But the Giants are too good at beating themselves to win football games, right? The Giants are too committed to guys who are not going to win us football games because they don't know how to win, right? Daniel Jones does not know how to win a football game. He does not make the plays necessary to do that. And if you don't know how to win a football game, you don't make the proper plays. And no people are in the comments right now, oh, he hates Daniel Jones. He blames Daniel Jones. No, Devin Singletary sucked ass too. Brian Dable sucked ass too. There was a lot of players. The drops, Darius Slayton was horrible. Wan'Dale Robinson dropped a huge pass, and I love Wan'Dale, but he can't drop that 4th down pass. Can't do it, okay? So, yeah, a lot of blame goes around. But at the end of the day, Daniel Jones has paid $40 million to hit these wide-open deep throws, and he's got to hit them. It erases all the other bad. He's paid more than anybody else to make those plays, and he's not making those plays. He's the highest paid player on this team, and he's not making the most critical plays. That's all that has to be said, okay? And Brian Dable is to blame as well. The lack of usage of tight ends. The running game was so uninspiring and lacked so much creativity. Their most creative play was an end around to Malik Nabers that lost 6 yards. You know what I mean? Like, that's... This team shoots themselves in the face more than I've ever seen. And our schedule, the Seahawks are a good football team. The Bengals... They're not playing that good, but they put up a fight against the Chiefs. And if they play like that, they're going to body bag us. The Steelers, with Justin Fields, are going to murder us. Their defense is unbelievable. They're going to put us in a freaking absolute locker. You know what I mean? Like, this Giants team is not winning a lot of football games this year, guys. Like, the Panthers with freaking Andy Dalton may win more football games than us at this rate. Because at what point do the Giants just, like, look at themselves and say, like, at what point do the players just start to give up? You know, like after losing these types of games because of the critical moments. Like, the Giants don't hit on the critical plays, and that is what's determining their wins and losses, right? And look, you can't have franchise-setting pass rush performances every single week. You can't do it. It's not sustainable. Daniel Jones has to play a complete football game where he plays good the entire game. He plays one good half, one bad game, he doesn't have a full good game ever. Maybe twice in his career that I can recall. You know, one against the freaking Vikings and then one against the Saints. Those are the only 2 complete good football games I've watched him play in my freaking life over 6 years. You know what I mean? It's one good half. You got to do it for a full game. He has to adjust. He's in year 6. A defense is going to adjust to you at halftime. He's got to adjust with it. And so does Brian Daboll. You know what I mean? It goes hand in hand, man. Jones is not the only one to blame here. It's a lot of people to blame in this. But the quarterback wins and loses you football games. And Jones is losing us more football games because of the inability to hit the deep ball than he is winning them. So, I mean, we all know this. He's gone after this season. Like, anyone with half a brain can spell that already. You know what I mean? If you're still committed to him, like, God bless you. Like, I just don't even know what to say anymore. Like, that's really my opinion. Look, we're all fans. We all want this team to win. We all just want this team to be great. And that's all there is to it. And we all have different ways in how we think they're going to get there. And listen, like, you guys are Giants fans, man. You guys are my family. And we're arguing like we're family. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Because we love this team so much and we're fucking pissed off. But they have to flip the They have to flip the page. We need fresh blood. We need to get out of this cycle of just absolute, like, purgatory and just feeling like we're stuck and running in place all the time. It has to end.
You said it there. Year 6, Giants are this committed to Daniel Jones. Fans are still committed to him. I wish my ex was that committed to me, because this is unbelievable. I'd be on a totally different life path at this point. This was a beast. 50 minutes. Bam! That's what the Giants do to us. They lose on prime time to the Cowboys, and we got a lot to say. And we're going to continue to have a lot to say. And honestly, I feel like we didn't even say everything. I feel like we could keep going for another hour. Just continue to be pissed off about this. But I don't think that's healthy. We'll go through the film. We'll find out the nooks and crannies of what happened, what really went wrong for the Giants. I mean, I've already looked through the film, but we'll do it on the channel for you guys as well. So stay tuned to all that. And, of course, all this other Giants content as we lead into Week 5 versus the Seattle Seahawks. Stay tuned to Fireside Giants for all of that. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Comment your thoughts down below. All that fun stuff. Go follow Fireside Giants on everything. That's it. Have a good one. Let's go Giants, I guess.
Perfect.